discussing about PPC. Okay, so a couple of important points. I'll recap. First of all, we have public IP and private IP. Public IP address is unique across the globe. It works anywhere. It's unique, okay, across the globe. Once you have that public IP address, no one is going to have that public IP address. Okay, so then private IP address. It works only within the network. It's like an internal IP address. It's also unique, but within the network. It's also unique one only, but within the network. And whatever IP address we use here in this network, the private IP address range, same can be used by anyone in their own network. For example, in my home, I'm using 192.168 0 dot something series, 0.0 plus 24 series. You also decided to use same in your home network, you can do that. He also want to use same IP address range for his own private network, he can. So that's the reason you go to any network, CyberCafe for your friend's home or your home, where exactly you are. If you go and if you give IP config or if config, you can find one of these series like either 10 series or 172 series or 192 series. You can see more of 192 series. Why? Because it supports, every network supports 256 hosts. So we are not going to add more than 200 devices to our home Wi-Fi, right? That's the reason most of the times in your home network or any install networks, we can find that 192 series. Okay. So that is a private IP address ranges in each and every class. Class A range is 10.0.0.0. Class B private IP address range is 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. Class C IP address range is 192.168.0.0 is a Class C IP address range when coming to private IP addresses. Okay, so that is a mechanism. If you want to view your device IP address information, if you are using Windows, you use this command. If you are using Linux, you use this command. And another important point here is, so first of all, we are going to ask the client how big network he required, how many instances he is going to launch, current requirement, and also future requirements. By keeping current requirements as well as future requirements in mind, so then we are going to decide this. Okay. So first of all, so we have discussed what exactly this /32/31/30 means. So as I told you, total 32 empty blocks. Total 32 empty blocks, lot of zeros and lot of ones waiting to fill up that 32 empty blocks. Right. So if out of 32, all 32 already full, you will get only one output. That means the same IP address. Okay. If one empty slot is there, that means /31. /31 means out of 32, that IP address is saying 31 is already full. It's saying 31 already full. So how many empty are there? One empty slot is there. So lot of zeros and lot of ones are waiting. Either you can ask to 0 to occupy it or 1 to occupy it. We have two options. So that is /31. Whenever you are using /30, that means out of 32, 30 already full. How many empty slots? Two empty slots. Lot of zeros and lot of ones are waiting. How many ways we can accommodate? 2 to the power 2. The logic is very simple, guys. One is 0, one is 1. So 2 are waiting. How many empty slots are there? You gave 2 to the power of that. If it is /16, then gave 2 to the power 16. Why? Because 32 minus 16 is 16. So gave 2 to the power 16. If it is /28, then gave 2 to the power 4. 32 already full, 4 empty. So gave that 4, 2 to the power 4. Okay, so that is a logic or mechanism. All right. So the important thing is this VPC supports minimum slash 28, maximum slash 16. So that means in a single VPC, we cannot launch more than 65,500 EC2 instances. That is huge count, of course. Okay. So if your requirement is 65,000 instances, instead of depending on AWS, we can go and build a data center. Right. So that is the maximum a VPC supports. Right. So the minimum it supports is slash 28. And also, whatever the value you are getting, whenever you are giving slash 28, so it is going to show you. So what is the output? 16. But AWS reserve 5 IP addresses. So you always need to do minus 5 to get usable IP addresses. There is a certification question on this topic. Okay, I personally got this question. Okay, in one of the solution architect version 2 exam, previous version of the exam. So the question is, he's asking, he want to launch 12 EC2 instances within a VPC. And he's asking which subnet you are going to pick. Okay, he want to minimize the IP address wastages. What exactly our requirement is, he want to pick that. So the requirement is 12 IP addresses. So slash 28 is the minimum supports. It gives 16 IP addresses. If I don't know that minus 5 mechanism, I will choose slash 28 as an answer. But that is wrong answer. You need to choose slash 27. Okay. So whenever you are choosing slash 27, total 32 we are going to get. Minus 5. 32 minus 5, 27. So we are going to get slash 27 usable IP addresses whenever you are using slash 27. So that should be your answer. Don't get confused. So you should know that 5 IP address AWS reserve. That is a logic or mechanism for that question. Okay? Right. So you guys got any chance to go through this visual subnet calculator and do some calculations and all? Okay, can we start today's session or any questions before starting today's session? Any questions for me before starting today's session? Yes, please. Yes. 2 to the power 16. What is the value? 2 to the power 16? $65,536. That's correct only, right? See, I'm very poor in maths. That too, only some numbers I have by hearted. You are questioning. 65,536 only, 2 to the power 16. You see here, 2 to the power 16, 65,536. So you trust Google, right? Yeah. Right. So minus 5, you always need to do minus 5. That is reserved. So 65,531 usable IP addresses. Okay? Right. Okay. So as I mentioned in our last session, so generally we don't launch everything in default VPC. We don't launch anything in default VPC. Technically, in real environments, we don't use default VPC, and most of the times we delete it. Accidentally, we may launch it. We may launch some resource. So we can delete the default VPC also. If you delete default VPC, you do have an option to get it back. But remember, if you want to delete a VPC, you should not have any running resources. And remember one more thing. If you are deleting your default VPC, all the subnets, route tables, internet gateway, and the security groups you created so far, everything is going to delete. Security groups runs within your VPC. Okay, I'll show you how to delete that. So first navigate to VPC screen. In left pane, you have an option called your VPCs. Go there. This is our default VPC. Hey Avinash, how you are saying this is a default VPC? Scroll down right, and here you can see default VPC is yes. you will have only one default VPC in a specific region. In Mumbai, one default VPC. If you switch to any other region like a Canada region or Northern Virginia region, you will have one default VPC there. Okay. So if you suspect you did some modification, you messed up with some settings and all, so then simply go and delete this. Delete VPC. Okay, these all things it is going to delete. Internet gateway, security groups, subnets. Okay, so I acknowledge you need to type delete default VPC. Once you type this delete default VPC, when you click on enter, delete, so it's deleting everything. Now I don't have a VPC. Without VPC, can we launch an EC2 instance? Now, just give a try. Navigate to EC2. Navigate to instances. Click on launch instances. Scroll down bit and you see here, no VPC, no subnet. So even if you select some properties, I'm giving a name, I'm selecting D2 micro, I'm selecting a key pair. Okay, I'm trying to launch instance. Is it happening? No. No VPC, no security group. All right. So without VPC, we cannot launch any EC2 instance. Now, I have deleted my default VPC. Later, I realized I want to get back my default VPC. Earlier, we need to contact AWS. But now, go to actions. The first option, create default VPC. Just click on that create default VPC. Click on create default VPC. Automatically, you will get the default VPC here. Okay? You will get everything, subnets, default security group, but not the security groups you manually created. Only default security group you will get. This is dealing with default security group, default VPC, sorry. Now, I want to create a new VPC. I want to create a new VPC, custom VPC. Before this custom VPC, you need to understand the public subnet and private subnet concept. Okay. So the public subnet and private subnets. So you have only two types of subnets, guys, in AWS. Either it is public subnet or private subnet. Public subnet means whatever resource you launch there, it is internet facing one. That means you can access that resources over the internet. You can access the resource over the internet. Okay. For example, a load balancer. Or you can even launch a web server with a public IP address, you can get connected to it. Or you can make that instance as a web server. You can access that web page also by using that public IP address. It's just like a hall in your house. It's like a hall in your house. So anyone can come to your hall, right? Okay. Anyone can come to your house to discuss something with you. So that is a public facing one. But not to different rooms, not to your private spaces, not to your puja temple and all, right? You won't allow them. Why? Because they are outside, guys. So your resource or you want to discuss with them in a common space. Okay. So treat that public subnet as a hall in your house. Okay. So the private spaces and all, that is your space that contains a lot of sensitive informations. Okay. So that is a private subnet. Similar way, your load balancer is okay to make it public facing. Or if you want, you can even make web server also public facing one. Okay. But your database is going to contain a lot of sensitive information, like a usernames and passwords. Okay. Even your database allowed to store credit card or debit card information if they have any compliance standards, right? So such type of sensitive information, is it okay? Like, all your gold jewelry and all, are you going to keep in your hall? No, right? You are going to keep it in a private space, in a bedroom, a locker. There you are going to have a security key and all. Why? Because that is important. That is a valuable thing. So you are not going to keep that in public subnet. What happens if you put your gold and all in a hall? Someone will come, they will ask for water. By the time you get the water, right? So, it's not at all recommended to keep such type of information in internet facing one, which everyone can get access to it. Okay. Here with the public subnet and private subnet don't have direct access. Public subnet have direct access, private subnet don't have direct access. If they want to access private subnet, they need to go via public subnet only. If they want to reach your locker, they need to go via your hall only. Of course, they can. If nobody is in home, okay, they can break the lock and they can break the locker and they can get all the valuable things. That is secondary. But how he is reaching there? Via hall only, right? Okay. So we can use a mechanism called jump server for that. The jump server runs within public subnet that used to get connected to private subnet resources. Or we even call it as the bastion host. We'll talk about that. Okay. So that's a public subnet and private subnet concept. In organization, generally, we are going to have 8 subnets. At moment, let's concentrate on 2 subnets, one public and one private. So these subnets runs within the VPC. VPC is like a parent. Within that, we are going to take a public subnet and private subnet. So if you want me to show that in diagrammatical manner, to go to draw.io, okay, create a new diagram. I'm going to create a new one. VPC new is a name I'm giving. Cloud AWS create. Okay. VPC new is a name I'm giving for it. So just go and search VPC. This is VPC. This is a boundary. Okay. So this is a VPC. Okay. So within this VPC, I want to create one public subnet and one private subnet. Just search for public subnet. This is a symbol of public subnet. And the search for private subnet. Where these subnets are running within the VPC, just observe that. These subnets are present within the VPC. Okay. Now, whenever we are creating a VPC, the first thing is you need to choose a CIDR block, CIDR. CIDR means classless inter-domain routing. In simple, what is the IP address range you want to give for entire VPC? I told you yesterday how big VPC we want to create. Okay, how? Come on, guys, please be on mute. Shiva Shankar Reddy. Right. Okay. So, yeah, there we are. So we are going to have multiple, one public subnet and one private subnet. So VPC is like, we need to choose how many instances you want to launch total, whether it is public or private, doesn't matter. How many you want to launch within this VPC. Okay, so that we need to configure here. So these are child within the VPC, right? How many instances you want to launch here and how many you want to launch here. That you need to configure. In future, if you want to create some more subnets, you can create a subnet and you can give some IPs there. Okay. So yesterday I told you how big VPC we need. That means how many instances we want to launch, how many networks you want to create, how many hosts the network is going to contain. That is the first question we are going to ask the client. Okay. So you tell me how many instances you want me to launch. Based on that, I will select. I have 2 questions now. Which class you want me to use? How many instances you want me to launch within this VPC? Class C? Class C? B? Okay. Any class is fine. You just tell me one. I'll pick it. Okay. Class B. This guy said class. Okay. Just go to visual subnet calculator here. So class C IP address range is class, you said class B, right? Class B is 172. 172.16.0.0. Now, how many instances you need within this VPC? Tell me a number. I'm not going to last those many. Even if you tell 10,000 also, I'll pick. But am I going to really last 10,000 now? No, just give me a number. 10. 20,000? Okay. So now, if I want to launch 20,000, if I gave /18, you see here, I'm going to get 16,000. So that is not satisfying the requirement. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to take /17. So /17 will give 32,000 EC2 instances we can launch. Okay. So as you mentioned 20,000, I'm going to take /17. Okay. Find this IP address I'm going to take for my VPC. /17. Clear with this? Okay. Now, my next question is, how many instances you want to launch within the public subnet and private subnet? You mentioned 20,000. Within the 20,000, okay, don't ask me to allocate 30,000 to public subnet. It's not a valid setting. Why? Because your father have only 5 crores and you are expecting 7 crores to get. So is that a valid statement or a scenario? No, right? So these components running within the VPC. So here we have 32,000. So how many you want to give for this and how many you want me to give for this? 10,000 and 10,000? Okay. All right. So then divide it. So you see here 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. If you are okay, you go with it. Otherwise, 16,000 and 16,000 you can give. But in future, if I want to create any new subnet, do I have anything left here? Whatever 32,000 I'm getting, 32,000 I'm allocating. But for future subnet, if I want to create any, do I have any left? No, right? So instead of 10,000, I'm going to make it 4 parts. Okay. So for every subnet, I'm going to get 8,000. So for public subnet, I'm going to take this IP address. I'm giving that here. All right. So for private subnet, I'm taking the second one. I'm giving that here. Okay. So remaining 2 is for future usage. So again, you might get a doubt. Hey, Avinash, so for this one, I want to give 8,000. For this one, I want to give just 4,000. Is it possible? Yes, it is. It is. There is no need to maintain class 19, 19, all 19s. For one, you can give 19. For another one, you can give 22 or you can give 24. It's absolutely in our hand. Okay. So this is a second thing. You got it so far? Is it clear? Okay. So future usage, 16,000 is for future usage. 16,000 we are using now. Okay. Now I'll try to create a VPC in similar manner. I'll try to create a VPC in similar manner. We have a VPC wizard. You just gave what name you want to give. How many public subnets? What is the public subnet name? What is the IP address? Private subnet name? IP address? Click on create. Everything AWS creates. But we don't follow that. Why? Because you don't know what is the backend logic, how things are working if you go with that wizard. Everything AWS will create for us. So if you want to understand each and every component, you need to create each and every component parallelly. So go to EC2 dashboard. Here you see create VPC option is there. Click on create VPC. The second option, VPC and more. Now give a name. Name, it auto-generated or just uncheck and you give a name. Okay. So the name I'm going to give it as my custom VPC. Then what is the CIDR block you want to give for your entire VPC? You guys asked me to pick this, right? 172.16.0.0. I'm going to give same thing here. Okay, so no IPv6. Now, how many number of availability zones you want to scale the subnets? So AWS always recommend us to scale our resources across multiple subnets. If you want to create two subnets in only AP South 1A, you can. But if something happened to AP South 1A, you will lose access to the resource, right? So it's always recommended to have multiple public, multiple private. And one public in AP South 1A, another public in AP South 1B. That is a recommended setting. Okay, so I'm going to take two subnets now. Now, number of public subnets, number of private subnets, and what are the IP ranges you want to give. Okay, number of public 2, number of private 2, or you just go with only one availability zone, number of public 1, number of private 1. As per this diagram, I'm configuring now. Okay, so now what is a public subnet range? I want to go with this. I'll copy from here. Don't give spaces, it will give an error. Okay, so now we are going to get these IP addresses. So NAT gateway will talk about that. Endpoints also will talk about that. Simply scroll down, create VPC. That's it. Now what I did, I have just given my VPC name and IP address, public subnet name and IP address, private subnet name and IP address. Everything AWS is doing. So what it is doing within this VPC, it is creating two subnets. Both are creating an AP South 1A only. Two route tables are going to create, and one network interface is going to create, and internet gateway is going to create. That's it. Okay. So, but you don't understand what are the things happening, how exactly it is happening. So I'm not going to follow this wizard. We will create each and every component manually. Okay. So now click on create VPC. Select this option VPC only, the first option, not the second option. So now what is the name you want to give? I'm calling it as a custom VPC. Okay, I'm going with IPv4 CIDR block. Manually, I'm giving. Okay. So IPAM is the component or software IP address manager. The component name is IP address manager. So you gave some ranges, it automatically deals with that ranges. So let's go with the manual thing. IPv4 CIDR manual input. What is the VPC range you want me to give? I'm giving that here, class 17. No IPv4 CIDR block for now. And tenancy. You know, tenancy. Remember shared tenancy and dedicated tenancy. Which one is free? Which one will cost us? Shared is free, dedicated will cost us. So here also, whatever VPC you are creating, the VPC will create in a shared hardware if you select default. If you select dedicated, it will create in a dedicated hardware. So do we really need it in dedicated hardware? No. So just go with the default, don't modify it. Scroll down, click on create VPC. The first step is completed. So basically VPC creation involved with 5 steps, guys. That technically 4 steps only, 5th one is not mandatory. So step 1 is completed. Any questions on step 1? Any questions? No? Good? Okay. So whenever we create a VPC, some components we will get. One is route 53. Second one is security group. Third one is network ACL. These 3 will create automatically. Okay. So I'll do one thing. I'll delete default VPC to not to get confused. Okay. So the first step, create a VPC. That's completed. So this part is completed as per this diagram. This line, this part is completed. This red color line. Clear with that? Now, let's create public subnet and private subnet. So go to subnets below to the VPC. Go to subnets, click on create subnet. In which VPC you want to create? Under custom VPC. What is the subnet name you want to give? I'm going to call this as the public subnet 1. I'm calling it as a public subnet 1. In which availability zone you want to run this? Okay, I want to run this in AP South 1A. Now, what is the range you want to give? So technically, this is running in AP South 1A. How we can diagrammatically represent that? Just look for subnet. This image is for subnet. So this is a diagrammatical representation for the subnet. Okay. So this is running in AP South 1A. You can give a name. Okay. Now, same thing I'm going to do for this one as well. You can take 1B. All right. So now, what CIDR range you want to give? So we decided some CIDR ranges, right? I'm going to copy one. I'm giving that here. Okay. Now you want to add new subnet. Both you can create at a time. Click on add new subnet. What is another subnet name? My private subnet or private subnet. Oh. I'm calling it as a private subnet 1. PRIVATE. Okay, there is a typo. Subnet 1. All right. So now which CIDR range we want to give? You pick one. So give that CIDR range here. Right. Then click on create subnet. So 2 subnets created. And if you scroll to right, it will show how many available IP addresses. If you started launching EC2 instances, this count will reduce. Okay. So we have created one public and one private. Yes.
Sir, you created both in same availability zones, 1A, 1A only.
Oh, is it? Okay, I created both in 1A only. Right, let me delete that. So this is a private. Thanks for bringing that. Create subnet, custom VPC, and I'm going to call this as a private subnet 1. I'm going to create it in 1B. Given that IP address here, then create subnet. Now, so one subnet created in AP South 1A, another one created in AP South 1B. Okay, so now, so fine, but whatever the things we are calling, like, private subnet and public subnet, that's just a name. That is not public yet. And the second one is not private yet. Okay, if you want to make it public or if you want to make it private, so you need to define that with the help of internet gateway. Okay, so step 2 is clear. Can we go to step 3? Step 3 is a primary component, that is an internet gateway. So internet gateway is a virtual appliance that provide internet to our VPC. That provide internet to our VPC. Right. So let's go to this internet gateway. All right. So diagrammatically, if you go here, just look for internet gateway. So this is a symbol of internet gateway. Where this internet gateway runs, at our VPC level. At our VPC level, we are going to have internet gateway. All right. So now click on create internet gateway. So then give a name. I'm calling it as a my IGW. Then scroll down, create internet gateway. Now internet gateway is created, but is it attached to our VPC? Not yet. The status it is showing as a detached. So go and associate or attach this to our VPC. One important point here, one VPC supports one internet gateway at a time. Okay, so this internet gateway is providing internet. So it's a very important component. Can I create 2 or 3 internet gateways and can I associate to my VPC? No. One is too sufficient. That is managed by AWS. It have 100% upfront. Okay, so don't worry about the downtime and all. So select this internet gateway, actions, attach to VPC, select the VPC here, then click on attach internet gateway. Now, this internet gateway is attached to VPC. Diagrammatically also, it's showing same. At what level that internet gateway is running? At VPC level. Okay. So, fine. We got a component that provides internet to our VPC, but it's not providing to any resource yet. It's not giving internet to any public subnet, any private subnet. Okay. So, now, as I told you, one VPC support one internet gateway. I'll create one test. I'm creating a test internet gateway. Can I attach it to my VPC? You see, it's saying you do not have any VPCs, but I have one, right? It already have a VPC. We cannot add multiple VPCs. Okay. So, this one is not really useful. I'm deleting it. All right. So we have a VPC. So this is step 3. Clear with step 3? First step, create a VPC. Second, create subnets within the VPC. Third, create internet gateway and attach to your VPC. Fourth step. If you understand this fourth step, you can create a number of the VPCs. Okay. So now we got internet gateway. Fine. So which one will become public subnet, to whatever the subnet you associate this internet gateway. For example, to this public subnet, you have associated internet gateway. To this public subnet, if you associate internet gateway, okay, so this is associated to public subnet. So then what happens, it becomes public subnet. For example, wrongly, you have associated to this private subnet. We can send it to back. So then we can associate it to this. For example, you have associated this internet gateway to private subnet. Whatever name you have given, there is no meaning for it. Why? Because you associated internet gateway to your private subnet. Whatever instance you have here, it will get internet. So the name is wrong. You are configuring, you're doing misconfiguration. So the logic is to whatever the subnet you have communication via this internet gateway. So that is technically public subnet. So if I want to make this as a public subnet, I need to create a route via internet gateway to this public subnet. Then it is a public subnet. So whatever instance I'm going to launch here, whatever EC2 instance I'm going to launch here, okay. So this EC2 instance, with the help of internet gateway, it can access internet. Like for example, this is a Google server. Now, this EC2 instance via this internet gateway can communicate with this google.com. Why? Because internet gateway is providing internet. Now, for example, you have an EC2 instance. You have a EC2 instance in private subnet that don't have any communication with internet gateway. Can it access google.com? No. Now what you're doing, you are calling it as a private subnet, but you are associating with internet gateway. So technically both are going to be same. Where is the difference? No, right? So the logic is very simple. Whatever subnet have a route via internet gateway, that is a public subnet. Whatever the subnet that don't have connectivity to internet gateway, that is a private subnet. What name you are giving doesn't matter. The logic is your subnet should have a route via internet gateway. Then it is public. Okay. If it don't have route via internet gateway, it is private. Now, for example, here a user is there. So this guy is trying to access AWS environment. So he is trying to access this EC2 instance. Will it allow? Yes. So the request will come to internet gateway. The internet gateway is public facing one. So he can get connected to it. This internet gateway is allowing him. Okay. So the same guy, if he try to access this private subnet instance, will it allow? No, it won't. Why? Because it directly don't have any communication to outside world. Diagrammatically, that is a, you can call it as an architectural diagram. Very minimal. Okay. So that is a logic. Clear with it? Can we go and implement it? So now, how we can associate this internet gateway with this subnet? By creating a component called route table. Route table. The route table will have two options. One is what route you want to, what subnet you want to. First option is what route you want to. Okay, I want to allow all the traffic via internet gateway. That is route. Second one is to which subnet you want to allow all the traffic. So that is a subnet association. Two options. Okay. So let me go to this route tables. We already have one route table called main route table. This is a main route table. So for any of the subnets, if you don't define any route table, it will pick default route table. So to make things clear, I will create two route tables. One is public route, second one is private route. Click on create route table. I'm calling it as a public route. In which VPC you want to create? In custom VPC. Then click on create route table. I'll create another one. Click on create route table. I'll call this as a private route. In what VPC you want to create? In custom VPC, create route table. Now, one public route table is created, one private route table is created. But did we perform any subnet associations? Is our public subnet associated to this public route? No. Is our private subnet associated to private route? No. So do that as a first step. Go to that public route, navigate to subnet associations, click on edit subnet associations, select public. If you accidentally select both will become public. So click on save associations. Now my public route have public subnet here. Fine. Okay. But does it have communication with our internet gateway? Not yet. So for that, go to routes. Here we have an option called routes. Go to routes. Click on edit routes. You see, this is a local route. I'll tell you what exactly it is. Add a new route. Okay, I'm adding a new route here. Whatever the traffic coming over the internet, anywhere, I'm accepting the traffic via internet gateway. You select internet gateway here. Whatever internet gateway you have, select it. Then click on save changes. Okay, that's it. Our public route is ready. Now what happens, whatever the EC2 instance we have in this public subnet, okay, whatever the EC2 instance we have within the public subnet, if it is trying to access any website, Google, Facebook, YouTube, any website, what happens? The traffic will go to this internet gateway. There is a component called internet gateway. It allows any traffic and it sends outside world. It receives from outside world. It will deliver to all these public subnet EC2 instances. Okay. So this is the public subnet mechanism. Now let's go to private route. This is a, okay, again I selected public route. This is the private route. Now, do I need to add internet gateway? Don't. If you are adding internet gateway, where is the difference between public and private? Private route never ever have internet gateway. Private routes don't have internet gateways. So simply go to subnet association, edit subnet association, select private subnet, click on save associations. Okay, now what happens? Whatever the traffic, whatever the instance we have in this private subnet, if it is trying to access google.com or any other website, it comes to this route table. But do we have internet gateway? So the traffic goes nowhere. So the traffic won't goes outside, or no outside traffic can come to this private subnet instances. Okay. So that is a logic. If you understand this logic, you can create n number of the VPCs and n number of the subnets. Okay. So is this clear? This step 4. The logic is very simple. What is the logic here? The logic is very simple. Select any route table. You see here, there is internet gateway. Fine. Okay, this route table have internet gateway. Then go to subnet association. Whatever the one associated here, that is a public. Okay. So whatever instance we have within this subnet, it can access resource over the internet. Why? Because internet gateway is there that provide access. Now, another route table. This have a subnet. Whatever instance you have here, can it access resource via internet? No. Why? Because it don't have internet gateway. Okay. Now, what is this local route? Basically, local route is a component that enable communication between the VPCs. Within VPC, how many subnets you have? Those all subnets can communicate each other. Those all subnets can communicate each other. What is this? Okay. So that is what local route is. How many subnets you are going to create within a VPC? Doesn't matter. They all can communicate. Okay. So for that, how the communication will happen? With the help of local route. You have an instance here. That instance can communicate with this instance. This instance also can communicate with this instance. What is allowing? Local route is allowing. Okay. So this is what VPC creation is. Total 4 steps. So any questions for me? What is the use of private subnet then? Okay. What is the use of locker in your home, Rajesh? What is the use of hall and what is the use of locker? So you are not going to keep your locker for everyone, right? Locker is different. It contains a lot of valuable things and all. Your hall, just couple of chairs or a sofa. Okay, so the same mechanism here. So your private subnet will have database. Do we really need internet for the database? If you really required, we have another component that is tomorrow's session topic. Okay, somehow I need internet from my private subnet. Still, we can provide without making it public. Okay, that is tomorrow's session topic. But such type of all sensitive information, database servers and all, web servers, even if required application servers, everything you can put it in public, private subnets. Public subnet, you can launch your load balancer and you can deliver your application. Is that answers your question, Rajesh? Right. Okay. So this is now I launched two EC2 instances. One is in public subnet, another one is in private subnet. Okay. I will launch one in public subnet, one is in private subnet. I'll try to connect from my local laptop. Okay. So to both, I will verify. So obviously public one will work, private one won't work. So we'll see how to get connected to the private one. So we have if for today, I will demonstrate it with both Windows instances. Tomorrow I'll take one Linux, one Windows and one Linux. Day after tomorrow, I'll take both Linux. Just to make you comfortable with these things. Okay. Right. So navigating to EC2. Launch instance. I'm calling it as a public subnet instance. Okay. Scroll down. Okay. As I told, I'm going to take Windows Server 2016 base. T2 micro. Key pair, I'm going with my Windows KP. Now, we have only custom VPC. In which subnet you want to launch? As it is a public subnet, I'm going to choose public subnet now. Now, auto assign public IP. Do we need a public IP address for public subnet instance? Yes. Without public IP address, how you can get connected to it? That is a unique one, right? I'm standing here in Naresh IT network. This EC2 instance running in somewhere AWS environment. How I can hit that? Will private IP address work? No. Why? Because Naresh IT is different network. AWS is different network. In between, lot of networks are there. So private IP address won't work. So what you need to do, whatever instance you are going to launch in public subnet, you need to enable this. Whatever instance you are launching in public subnet, you need to enable. Otherwise, you cannot get connected to it. Again, you might get it out. Okay, do I really need to enable for every individual instance which I'm launching in public subnet? We can modify one setting. Okay, so go to your VPC's public subnet. This is a public subnet, right? Go to this public subnet, actions, edit subnet settings. Okay, so there is an option, enable auto assign public IPv4 address. If this option is enabled, then what happens, automatically it will allocate a public IP address. No, I don't want to enable this option. While you are launching, you manually take care about it. It's not mandatory. If you are okay to take care about this for every individual instance, you no need to. But most of the times we enable this. Sometimes we may forget. Then what you can do with that instance? You need to generate elastic IP address. You need to associate. That will cost, right? So now give a refresh. When we select public IP, it will enable automatically. Manually, you don't need to take care. So this is a new VPC. What security groups we have? Only default security group we have. Why? Because it's a brand new VPC, right? I'm going to create a new security group. Windows SG is the name I have given. RDP 3389 is open for everyone. 30 gigs is okay. Then launch instance. Let me double check whether I'm really launching it in public subnet. Yeah. We cannot change subnet after instance launch. Can we? If you launch it in AP South 1A, it runs in AP South 1A only. You cannot move it to 1B. Okay, an EC2 instance launched in AP South 1A public subnet. Click on launch instance now. Okay, I'm calling it as a private subnet instance. So I'm going to take Windows Server 2016 base, and I'm going to select T2 Micro. I'm going to select same key pair, and I'm going to choose custom VPC, private subnet. See, for a private subnet instance, we don't require IP address. Still, if you want to allocate and if you want to give a try, of course you can enable and you can give a try. Okay? So we really don't require, but still for testing purpose, if you want to enable and give a try, you enable and give a try. Okay. So again, security group, we have one. I'm going to select that Windows SG. Then click on launch instance. Now we have launched one instance in public subnet, another instance in private subnet. Okay. Now I want to get connected to public subnet instance first. So select the instance. Okay. Select the public subnet instance. Grab the instance public IP address. Take MSTSC or whatever the software you're using. Okay, I need to delete all this. I'm not really using. All right. So add PC. And this PC name, I'm calling it as the public subnet instance. Okay. Oh, sorry. PC name is like my public IP address. Friendly name is public subnet instance. Okay. So first I'm connecting to that public subnet instance. It's asking me to enter username and password. And which IP I have used? Public IP. So the default username is administrator. So from my local laptop, I'm able to communicate. So that means we are able to hit the EC2 instance. We are able to communicate with the EC2 instance. Okay, this is the password. Give the password here. Click on continue. Continue. So we have successfully connected to this public subnet EC2 instance. From my local laptop, from Naresh IT network, I'm able to connect with the help of internet gateway. Because of internet gateway is there, that is taking the connection. My security group is open. So it is allowing me to get connected to the instance. This part is clear? Now, similar way, let's try to connect to private subnet instance. This is a private subnet instance. So here is the public IP address I got. So first of all, public IP address is useless. But still, if you want to, you click on this add PC. I'm giving the public IP address here. Friendly name, private subnet instance. Now give a double click. It's trying to connect. It's trying to connect and it's going to fail. Okay. See, we have discussed just 5 points today. You need to spend some time and you need to practice multiple times. Otherwise, coming 2 sessions, it's a bit difficult to understand. We are going to build everything on top of these 5 steps tomorrow and after tomorrow. So you see here, this private subnet, we are not able to get connected to it from Naresh IT network. Now, if I want to get connected to it, what I need to do? What I want to do?
Insert the public server subnets.
Okay, add internet gateway. Again, both will become same, right?
you log in that public instance?
Yes. So, we connected to a public subnet EC2 instance here, right? From this instance, can we connect to that instance? Both are running in same VPC. Both are running in same VPC. Same VPC resources can communicate. Which component is allowing? Local root is allowing. So local root is there, we cannot delete it. So resource running within a VPC can communicate each other. No additional settings required. So now I can take a remote desktop here. I can give MSTSC and I can give IP address of my private subnet instance. Now the question is, do I need to give public IP or private IP?
Private IP.
Yes. Why? Because communication is happening within the network only, right? So you and your brother both are staying in the same house and you are not going to call him with his full name, right? You will call Chinna Kanna, right? So here also same. The communication is happening within the VPC. So you really no need to use public IP address. If you use public IP address, it fails. It fails. Why? Because whenever you are using public IP address, it looks for internet gateway. It won't use local root. If you are using private IP address, then only it works. The reason is you observe this local root. What local root is showing? Just go to roots here. It is showing private IP address, your entire VPC private IP address. So you need to grab your instance private IP address. So first connect to this server, give private IP address, click on connect. There you can see it is asking us to enter username and password. Okay, it is asking us to enter username and password. So communication is there. So let's grab this private subnet instance username and password. Username is same, that is administrator. Oh, sorry. So the default username is come on, paste. I think I pasted twice. Okay. Then click on OK. Click on yes. So we got connected to this private subnet instance from public subnet EC2 instance. Okay. First we connected to public subnet instance. From that public subnet, we are connecting to private subnet instance. Local root is enabling this communication as both are running in same VPC. Now, technically, we can call this public subnet instance as a jump server or bastion host. What is the use of jump server or bastion host? Jump server or bastion host usage is it run to get connected to all our private subnet EC2 instances. If you connect to this jump server, then only you can access. So these servers are running in AWS environment. You are sitting in your office environment. Can you directly access without public IP address and all? No. You need to have at least one instance running in public subnet. You connect to that instance first. From that instance, you connect to private subnet instance. Technically, we call this mechanism as a bastion host or jump server mechanism. Okay. We follow this in real environments. In interview, if you get any question, how you get connected to your database? We won't ask you what is jump and all. We will ask you, okay, what is your architecture? How you get connected to your database and all? You mention, okay, we have a jump server in custom VPC. We first get connected to jump server. From jump server, we will connect to database servers and all. Okay. So this is a mechanism. Now, so here, this is a public subnet instance. Do I have internet here? Yes, I have. Why? Because internet gateway is there. If I open this Internet Explorer, If I try to access google.com, it works. But in private subnet, it won't. So let's give it a try. Okay, you just do this, adding it to trusted websites. You see here, it's working. But same thing, will it work in private subnet? Here, I connected to private subnet instance. I'm taking full screen. You see here, no internet access. Why? Because no internet gateway associated to this. But now I have a requirement. I want to download something. I want to install some patches in from this private subnet instance, or I want to access some external endpoints. My database want to access something from an endpoint like a MongoDB endpoint or some other resources. So then what I can do? So for that, we can depend on a component called NAT gateway or NAT instance. We can use that and we can provide internet. But again, it will be private only, but that NAT will provide internet. That is our tomorrow session topic. Tomorrow as the first thing, we will discuss that. So then we have another component called network ACL. Then we have another topic called VPC peering, enabling communication between multiple VPCs across the regions, across the accounts, and enable internal communication between the resources called endpoints. That is day after tomorrow session topic. Okay. So, yeah. So please, we have a session on this Saturday. Please cooperate. Please plan accordingly. I'm not telling only tomorrow. I'm giving the heads up today itself. So plan accordingly. Just 1 hour. Okay. Right. So many guys are coming and asking when this course is going to end. It is lacking and all we plan to close by November last week only. So, but because of the Saturdays and all, because of my personal things, right? So it's getting delayed. So please plan this Saturday accordingly. We have session this Saturday. No excuses. I don't want to listen any reasons now. No poll, no nothing this time. We have a session Saturday. Okay. Yeah. November 30. It's not so early. Yeah. Okay. Only this Saturday. Only this Saturday.
Okay.
See, I'm saying no. It's planned to end by November 30. I'm not going to close by November 30. Okay. So I don't have any specific deadline. Okay. So we can even target for December 15th or 20th also. No issue at all. Right.
Okay.
So there is no hard deadline for this. Okay.
Please give me full subject. Delay also no problem, sir. Please give me full-fledged subject, sir. Really, you're teaching very fantastic.
I'm not going to skip any single topic. My requirement, please attend this Saturday.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to skip any single topic. There is no change in the way of explanation and all. I'm not going to rush. I told you today we just discussed 5 points. Now what I need from you guys is you need to spend some time and practice that 5 points. That in return I'm expecting that. Okay. So there is no hard deadline, nothing. But this Saturday, yes. Please plan accordingly. Okay. So even Naresh team also pushing. So this batch is from Monday to Saturday. So they are saying you are not even taking any session on Saturdays and all. So I said they are not willing to. So what I can do? So end of the day, your choice is important. So but this Saturday, all right. Okay. So yeah, any questions for now? The architecture is ready. Any questions for now?